Have you ever wondered what unicorns eat for breakfast? Or maybe what they use to keep their skin looking so flawless? Well, even if I don't know these answers, I can tell you something equally as interesting and unicorn related. Over 20% of all unicorn startups are using HubSpot, and for good reason. HubSpot's all-in-one platform levels up your sales, software, and support so you can grow beyond your wildest dreams, boosting leads and ramping sales along the way. They even have a constantly evolving collection of resources to help startups scale. Plus, with the HubSpot for Startups program, you can save up to 90% off your first year. I'll admit it does sound a little too good to be true. But unlike that majestic and also incredibly fictitious unicorn, HubSpot for Startups is all real. To see if you're eligible to save on HubSpot and take your growth to new heights, visit HubSpot.com/startups. Hello, everybody. Welcome to your new week. It's Monday, March 25th. I'm John Weigell here with Sara Friedman, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Today we're talking about another business fad that has taken off thanks to TikTok, of course. Swedish candy company Bon Bon is growing rapidly since their candies went viral, and lines down the block are now the usual for their New York locations. But how did we get here, and how is Bon Bon trying to match this insane new demand? We'll get into that in a bit, but first let's give you the hits and headlines today in business and tech. Starting off here with a fascinating statistic, the number of millionaires in the U.S. has grown 35%, a rate almost double China's. More than 5.5 million Americans have liquid assets over $1 million, which has grown 62% over the last 10 years. Next, in some AI news, Tennessee just became the first U.S. state to enact legislation to protect musicians from AI. The law, which goes into effect this summer, will bar AI tools from replicating artists' voices without consent. And following up with that, SAG-AFTRA ratified a contract that requires producers to negotiate with the actors' union before using AI voices in TV animation and get consent before using an actor's voice to generate an AI version. So it seems to be a lot of legislation actually coming down and being made with regards to voices and AI and musicians and AI. Fascinating. Next, NBC will stream its live coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics opening ceremony to over 150 U.S. IMAX screens. The July 26th event is the first Games opener not held in a stadium, with Olympians taking a trip down the River Seine in 100 boats. And finally, for all you Star Wars fans out there, AMC, Alamo Drafthouse, and other theater chains are running a 20-hour, 9-movie Star Wars marathon May 3rd to 4th for $84 a ticket. Honestly, pretty cheap for 9 movies, but you could not pay me to sit in a seat for 20 hours. All right, today's big story is about the suddenly big industry of Swedish candy. Since the TikTok trend about the delightful sweets blew up, companies like Bon Bon have had to happily meet a growing demand. So, Sara, can you give me some more details about how this all started?
Yeah, I mean, like all food trends, as you said, this started on TikTok. Seeing videos of people eating things is just like the most powerful marketing tool in the world.
Really
We've
is.
seen it over and over again. But yes, this one is Swedish candy, and there's one brand in particular. It's based in New York City. They have 3 brick and mortar locations, but they also have an e-commerce arm. It's called Bon Bon.
Mm-hmm.
And customers can either scoop candy, old school way in the shop, or they can order it online. And they've been seeing, ever since this took off, a massive surge in business. So they spoke with Eater, and they said after that first video went viral, they went from seeing about 20 orders per day on their website to over 1,000 every day. I'm sure that number has probably even gone up since that article came out. And they previously had 1 or 2 people overseeing the e-commerce orders, and now have a staff of 15 people working 6 days a week to keep up. So
Wow.
This is some serious business for like a pretty small candy shop.
Oh, yeah. To expand on something you said before about this being a TikTok trend, I feel like this year has been the year of TikTok fads when it comes to products. And weird enough that TikTok Shop is getting such a push now, but things like this, we just did a story last week on dirty soda, also the whole Stanley Cup thing earlier this year, just like a lot of drinks and foods kind of mulling the platform and a lot of people lining up at these big retailers to buy it. So this is interesting. As we talked about before the show, you've tasted it before, right?
I have, yes. A friend sent me one of these aforementioned prepackaged mixes for my birthday a couple of months ago. And I had already seen it on TikTok and was excited to try it. I have to say it's really good.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. What separates it from other candies? Do you think it's primarily the advertising that it's gotten or the TikToks that it's gotten? Or do you think it's really head and shoulders above most other candies that you have eaten?
So it is a slightly different texture. It's kind of like bubble gum that dissolves, I would say,
Oh,
rather than like a gummy bear that we're used to. So a little more marshmallowy, and they're delicious. But I do think it's because genuinely the shapes and colors are so appealing. They look like something out of Willy Wonka almost. And I think that it is perfect for TikTok creators. They are doing taste tests and like having these mouth-watering reactions and these like neon skull-shaped candies. I think that it's kind of the sweet spot,
oh, nice.
pun intended, for going viral on TikTok.
Nice one.
Yeah. I had just one.
Of course. And for other Swedish companies, like Bonbon's this big one. And I did look up, yeah, they do have 3 locations relatively near me, actually, in New York City. So maybe I'll check it out sometime if the line isn't too bad. Are there any other Swedish shops that have seen growth based off of their growth? And has this expanded to other places?
Yeah, there are a few. There's one called Soccer Bit in LA. Carameller in Vancouver, Sucre Baby in Toronto. And I think I even saw one, like a very small business outside of Boston. So I think anyone who has been selling Swedish candy previously is seeing a huge surge now. Many of those websites literally have warnings saying, please be mindful that we won't be able to get this out very quickly, because I think they're, making up for lost time here. We've seen this happen, like when recipes go viral on TikTok and supermarkets sell out of some niche product. Like many of these small businesses aren't prepared for viral trends to happen literally overnight, and they literally don't have the stock to get the products out to people. So I think they're probably playing catch up now.
Yeah, and you kind of never know where the trend is going to land next. For example, over the weekend, it was my girlfriend's birthday, and she really likes these noodles from this like online Asian grocery store, like chili oil noodles. And apparently they went viral on TikTok, and I tried to order them and they were all sold out. And I was like, really? They're just instant noodles. Like, how can you sell out of this? But yeah, you really don't know what's going to be hit next. And there seems to be a lot of other trends kind of floating around with candy. I mean, we talked about, as I said last week, dirty soda and like sweets. What are some other trends that have been going on in like the sweets lane that we should look out for?
Yeah, I mean, there was what, I don't know if you're familiar, called candy salad, which is literally just...
I am not familiar. No.
Well, I would do some homework tonight. It's an important cultural movement happening, but no, it's what it sounds like. It's just buying a bunch of different types of sour candy and mixing them in a big bowl. But there's the candy making videos in like the ASMR lane, and there's freeze dried candy and people who are dipping fruit in sugar. And I do think that candy is having a moment right now. As I said, I think it just lends itself so perfectly to social media. The colors, the product reviews, it's just like the perfect thing for creators to be taste testing live on the internet.
For sure. And it looks like you also did a couple of things of research on the Swedes' relationship with candy manufacturing. Can you tell me a bit about the history of the Swedes and candy?
Yes. So they take it very seriously. This is a tradition dating back to like the 1950s. It literally translates to Saturday sweets. I won't attempt to say the word and butcher it.
I'm looking at the word and I cannot even attempt.
Yes.
No, thank you.
But for our purposes, it means Saturday sweets. And it literally is going with your family to buy candy on Saturday. And the root of this was medical experts saw tooth decay rising in the country. And they said, maybe just go once a week instead of every day. And that ultimately stuck. But it's this really sweet family tradition. And there's even data from 2020 showing that 70% of Swedish children get a weekly or monthly allowance, and that most of them spend it on sweets on Saturdays with their family, which is really lovely. And I think probably contributing to the fact that Sweden was number 4 in the 2024 ranking of the world's happiest countries. I don't think that is a surprise. I think if we were all getting candy every Saturday, we would probably be happier.
I guess so. And here's my bad pun of the day. You can call them Sweeten from now on.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. Yep.
It had to be said.
But this is all really interesting to see how this develops over time, because it's having this big boom right now and candy and sweets all over TikTok and social media. But I don't know what that's going to look like next year or even next month. These things kind of change on a dime like that, or especially if TikTok gets banned potentially in the US. So I guess we'll see how this all shakes out then.
Yes, we will.
Well, thank you, Sara.
Thanks.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hey, everybody, let me tell you about this great podcast that's available right now. Creator Science, hosted by Jay Klaus, is brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, which is the audio destination for business professionals. Creator Science goes behind the scenes with today's top creators. Through narrative interviews, Jay Klaus explores how creators like Tim Urban, James Clear, Tori Dunlap, and Cody Sanchez are building their audiences today. And by learning how these creators make a living with their art and creativity, Creator Science can help you gain tools and confidence to do exactly the same. I was actually listening to an episode recently where Jay had on Dr. K, who's a Harvard psychiatrist, and Dr. K helps a lot of creators with performance, burnout, and dealing with a lot of negative feedback online. It's a great hour of conversation with Dr. K, where Dr. K really breaks down what it means to be a creator today and the burnout that a lot of creators do experience and what to do when you get that burnout, because you will. And you can listen to Creator Science wherever you get your podcasts, and I definitely suggest it. Listen to Creator Science wherever you get your podcasts.